Hello, Lulu. Guess who's coming to dinner? Well, good evening. It's voting day eve around the country. And I wanted to kind of have a lighter approach to today because I have a little anxiety, I guess, about tomorrow. But I'm very hopeful. I'm prayerful. We've prayed, me and my director, my husband, we've prayed. And tonight's show, I have a young lady that um, I met through my connections on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is that more professional social media where a lot of people go maybe to find work, but a lot of people go to network with other people in their professions, in their city, or whatever. And this evening, I'm going to introduce to you my new friend, Miss Adah Kennon. Hello, Miss Adah.
Hello, Miss Janice. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How about yourself? You all right?
I'm blessed. Yes.
Look, we've got a few things in common that we discussed when on our first really kind of vis-a-vis with each other, but it was on the phone. That you were living in Las Vegas, and I lived there for 35 years. So, my heart said pitter patter. And we also talked about the fact that we were both caregivers, and caregiving it doesn't come with a book.
No.
And there are a lot of things that we find out that other people that will eventually, at some point in time, will go into being a caregiver or being the patient. Some things that just people need to know. And we talked about my situation was my mother who had dementia, and your situation was your husband. Well,
Hmm.
you were caregiver for your mother and your husband,
Hmm.
correct?
Yes.
Which led you to write a book, uh, Patient or Profit. It's like, so which one you gonna take care of? You doing it for the money or you doing it for the patient? So tell us about what led you to writing the book.
Was patient a prophet? Where is the love? I was led to write this book because my husband allowed me to go on his journey with him. He had stage 5 kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, and he was on dialysis.
Okay.
And I was put into the position of being his caregiver very quickly, very, very quickly. It was all new to me.
Hmm.
And I didn't know really what I was getting into. There were people around me, doctors, social workers, um, dietitians, who were more than ready to tell me what being a caregiver was all about.
Okay.
And I was more than ready to buy into what they were saying because of the newness of it. I had no background. But it didn't take long before I realized that the fantasy that they led me to believe that I was walking into wasn't reality. The reality that they painted for me was based on their reality. None of them were people of color.
Okay.
None of them were people of color. So while they could tell me about the diet, they could tell me about medications, they could tell me about transportation. They couldn't tell me about bias or racism that I was going to encounter
Wow.
because they didn't know, or perhaps they didn't think it was important. For whatever reason, that was left out of their description as to what I was going to have to deal with. So as his condition progressed, became progressively worse, the stress became more. I didn't have any vacation. It was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Well wishers were there. I could count on them in an emergency, but then they went home to their own situations and their own drama, and I was left with mine. So I soon discovered that what they had led me to believe was not going to be adequate for me to survive. And I needed to survive not only for myself, but to help him live the best quality of life that he could. He lost his battle, by the way, with chronic kidney disease back in December of last year. So knowing that I was going to survive and help him survive, knowing that I was becoming increasingly angry and frustrated about what I was finding about the state of healthcare in America, knowing that I was basically on my own, I decided to write a survival manual and an empowerment tool that would help me in that journey.
Okay. Okay.
And that's my anger, my frustration. And then my husband was very supportive. He saw what I was going through. And he said, well, why don't you write a book? I think you'll be good at it.
Yeah.
And I told him that if he would collaborate with me, I would do that, because he had 36 years in the military, both active duty and working for the Department of Army on the civilian side.
Okay.
I didn't have the military experience.
Okay.
And because he was going through what he was going through, I wasn't about to have him sit down at a computer or typewriter and do that work. So I said, well, let's do this as a team. And that's how I got into it. It was therapeutic for me. It was a form of therapy, as well as something that I hoped other people might be able to learn from and benefit from.
If you were to say, well, before I ask you that question, the other part, the subtitle of the book, or if it's in the title, Where is the Love? How did you come up with that?
The more research that I did, the more into the journey I was going or getting,
Okay.
I discovered that the bottom line of those I was dealing with was not necessarily my bottom line. My bottom line was to help my husband live the best quality of life he could and help me survive as a caregiver for him.
Okay.
The bottom line of the pharmaceutical companies, biopharmaceutical companies that made the medication, the healthcare insurance companies, the distributors of the medication, and the federal government was not necessarily his welfare. It was profit, their profit margin.
Okay.
The first thing anyone asked us when we would walk into a clinic or into the hospital was, what insurance do you have? And let me see your card.
Right.
And they would not only do that once, they would do that multiple times. My husband, being a dialysis patient and having end-stage renal disease, had difficulty with his cholesterol. He had to have it below a certain level in order to not have a stroke or a heart attack while on dialysis. He could not take statins, which is something that a lot of people are familiar with because you see that advertised on the television all the time, because he was allergic to that. So the only medication that he could have that would control his cholesterol was a very expensive compounded prescription medication. It was about $4,000 some odd dollars an injection, and he needed to have those injections every other week, and I would give them to him. His nephrologist, his kidney doctor, was the one who recognized that he needed that medication.
Mm-hmm.
When he submitted his request to the insurance company, and we had two. We had Medicare, and we also had TRICARE, which is the military insurance.
Military insurance, okay.
Yeah. They said that even though his doctors said that they were medically necessary to keep him alive, they denied it because they made the determination that it was not. They made a determination that it was not. And so the only way that my husband survived for many, many months was that his nephrologist gave him this medication as a sample kind of thing.
Right.
Okay. And because he was I like to think of him as our guardian angel.
Okay.
And he was a person of an ethical person. And he was showed his humanity. He showed his humanity. Okay?
Right.
But that was another thing that made me very angry and frustrated.
let me say this.
Yeah.
So TRICARE wouldn't
No,
approve the medicine.
no,
Medicare wouldn't approve the medicine.
no.
So there you are without the medicine that would prolong his life. Them telling you that they're not going to approve it.
And you would be surprised at the major reason they said they weren't going to approve it.
Please tell
They,
me.
they said that because his nephrologist was the one that requested it, and because his nephrologist was not on their list of approved specialists who were authorized to give such approval, his opinion didn't count.
So did they offer you uh, one of those doctors on their list
No, no. It was up to us to go out and
and
find
find
such
you
a
one?
person if
Okay.
there was a need. If there was a need for a lipidemiologist, if there was a need for a cardiologist, yeah,
Okay.
or
Wow.
endocrinologist. And my husband at that point had none of those issues. So he had none of those specialists.
Right. Okay. Oh, wow. And it was just cut and dry, just like that. No,
Cut
you
and
can't
dry.
have it because he's not on their list.
3 times this medical professional appealed. 3 times it was denied. And all of that information is in the book because no one would believe this except you could see the documentation.
So, in the book, do you talk about the process that a person would go through if they want to um, fight an issue? I mean, a lot of times I know that if something is, well, for me, when things don't go right, and you write that initial letter, so that doctor initially had to submit a letter of reasoning why this medicine was needed for his patient.
Yes,
And the only reason that they denied him was because, as they say, he was not in network.
yes, he was not in that. He was not on the approved list of specialists.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
there
had
was
to
nothing
go.
that he could have done to get him on that list.
No, no, because the health insurance companies have absolute power to dictate who it is that they feel are approved specialists.
Even if your insurance company says you can pick anyone in network, in order to take care of you,
Mhm.
and you think you've got the kind of doctor that you need because they're in network,
Yes,
and they would get any approvals that you might need.
yes,
But if they are a doctor that now, is this the insurance company?
the insurance company,
Okay, so this was TRICARE
TRICARE and Medicare.
and Medicare. Oh, wow.
Mhm. And we also went through the Veterans Administration because we thought that the VA might be able to help. The problem is, every insurance company has what's called a formulary. And a formulary is just a registry of the medications, for example, that they have and that they
Available.
sanction as being available.
Okay.
Mhm.
A formulary. Okay. I'll
Formulary.
remember
Mhm.
that. Okay. So this medicine was not on that list.
No, it wasn't. And the specialist who requested it was not on their list. That was the first thing. The
Okay, so it
specialist who
wasn't just the
requested it,
medicine, it was
the specialist.
the physician himself. Oh,
Exactly.
wow.
The title of the physician, the specialty area that he was practicing in.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So then that's where is the love comes in, because no one is showing you any love whatsoever.
Not at all. Not at all. No, no, no.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
I know one of the things that we touched on and that you mentioned about fine print. Uh, and most people don't read fine print.
No. And I was one of them.
Okay.
I was one
So,
of
but
them.
but who thinks that, something like that? I mean, I guess, how do you get there? How did you get from them denying everything to where you are now? To aside from the guardian angel being there, there had to be a lot of adjustments that you had to make. Tell me about
Yes,
that.
yes, yes. The process called prior authorization was what was being misused or abused by the health insurance company. And that prior authorization process is a process that controls access to things like prescription medication or treatment plans
Hmm.
or any kind of durable medical equipment that you might need. Okay, prior authorization process. What I had to do as a caregiver was to learn to read the fine print. In
Okay.
addition to cooking food, transporting my husband from home to dialysis, making sure that he got to all of his appointments, making sure that he had what he needed here at the house, making sure that he took his medications on time, networking between one doctor and the other, actually physically carrying um, test reports, summaries from one doctor to another because they were not communicating. What I had to do was to learn to broaden that job description and to
Okay.
be comfortable doing that and then to do the research this is a new age. There was a time when being a caregiver only meant a few things, basic things, until hopefully the person you were caring for could get back up on his or her feet and do what you were doing for them.
Right.
It was more simple time. Now it is so complex that you have to know how to do the research. You have to know how to ask the questions. You have to know how to be comfortable when you ask a question and someone labels you as a angry caregiver or an angry patient or a troublemaker, okay? And then to persist even in the face of that, because that also happened with us, and I'm sure that we're not alone. You got to know to get your records and check your records, look at what's in those hospital records, and then to challenge them in writing if you find that is happening.
Okay. Explain. Okay. Give me a more layman's term definition of par. You said par authorization.
A prior authorization.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a process, and theoretically, it can be used for good. Nobody wants to take a medication that is not appropriate for them. Okay, nobody
Right.
wants to take something that hasn't gone through all of the screening processes that it should to make
Hmm.
sure that it does what it does and that it's a good kind of thing. Okay, and that's a good application of it. When it is misused to control access is when the problem occurs. And that is not something that is new. That has been going on for a very long time, very long time. It's that now it's in your face. There's no longer an attempt to be subtle about hiding it because the health insurance companies are sanctioned to get away with this kind of behavior by the government. Okay. And everything starts with the government in terms of legislation, in terms of any kind of policies, okay, that are devised. Everything starts there. So when they're given permission to do this, okay, they run wild, and that's what's been happening now, and that's what's happening now.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a deeper version of health disparities that uh, when you told me about it, I was saying to myself, this is something that people need to know, especially people of color,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
because even as just to interject, it took me about two years to get um, an understanding of all the programs that I needed for my mother, because I mentioned the difference between the words hospice and hospice.
Mhm.
That hospice was usually termed as services for end of life, someone who was near the end of their life. Hospice is not so much end of life as it is to to support the quality of life, because I had hospice for my mother for almost 3 years, and then they told me, they said, "Oh well, we've had patients for 8 to 10 years, that they still needed the service." So when they were first telling me about hospice, I kept hearing hospice, and I kept saying, why are they saying this to me? My mother's not on her deathbed. So I ignored. Her primary doctor kept saying, "You need to call hospice." And so the last time that she said it to me, and she said, "Janice," she says, "it's not just so much it's for your mother,
Mhm.
but it's also an aid to you as the caregiver."
Yes.
So I'm saying, oh, so when they came in, the things that, just a quick footnote for the audience, hospice allows to take over for respite care. That means if you need a break, if you need 2 or 3 days break, or you need a week, you want to go on vacation, that they would uh, admit the patient to a um, care facility, like a nursing home, where they have an extra bed, and they would take care of them and pay for it,
Okay.
because most services through hospice are Medicare. And I guess for people that have Medicaid,
Mhm.
I guess that would kind of work the same way. But those are the things that I wanted to get out to, especially our Black community, is that hospice is a help to us, and to take the stigma off of just thinking that it's for the end of life, because it's not. And so, where is the love? They didn't show you any.
No,
So you fought these battles for how long? How long were you in that fight?
about 5 years.
Oh wow.
About 5 years, because he not only had in-center dialysis toward the end,
Mm-hmm.
but we started out with home dialysis. So
Okay.
I was actually trained to administer, or to hook him up to the machines and so
Right.
on, and regulate the different ratios of fluid that he was going to be getting and so on here in the house.
Okay.
And when that failed, we had to go on, the in-center dialysis.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. That was a lot to learn how to do. That's
It was a lot to
tedious.
learn how to do. It was, but it really let me know about who I was.
Yeah.
It really, it was not only a journey for him, but it was a journey for me, because so much of my me time was compromised by this. Matter of fact, I really didn't have any me
You
time.
didn't have any me
I
time.
had to plan my me time, and that was
Right.
slim and none, But it was okay, because I think situations like that say so much about the caregiver's strengths and weaknesses. And it's a process that helps us grow and evaluate who we are as people. So I'm
Exactly.
very thankful he allowed me to go on that journey with him
Now you say you lost your husband, what, in December?
in
Last
December.
December?
It'll be a year this December.
You're coming up on a year December. I'm coming up on a year in a couple of weeks for my
Yeah.
mom. So,
Yeah.
we just had a lot in common, and I just thought that your story was one that I wanted to share. Is there anything else about that whole healthcare system that you think is important for us to know, or something you can tell us to guide us in some kind of way, aside from getting your book and reading the book?
Yeah, I also have a website.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and the website is the numbers 247 lightheartedcaregivers.com. lightheartedcaregivers.com.
Okay.
And even though my husband lost his battle with kidney disease, I've made a commitment to keep that website going, because at any moment in time, I could become a patient. Or
Right.
at any moment in time, I could become a caregiver to someone else.
Right.
Um, and there was just so much that I found out, that I didn't want other people to have to reinvent the wheel. There was no need for that.
Right.
So everything that we talked about, the terms and so on, especially as related to dialysis and chronic kidney disease, I have them broken down on that in layman's terms. I've
Mm-hmm.
got a page called Can We Talk?
Okay.
And I encourage people to send me their stories, and I will post them on that page. I've got different stories that people send, different things that I found out that I think might be of interest. And the thing of it is, I also have a formula for success because a lot of this depends on a person's philosophy of life and their self esteem
Okay.
and their self confidence.
Okay.
And we've been so beaten down. We've been so beaten down in this United States of America over the years, okay, in terms of the power that we have, okay, but are not necessarily allowed to exhibit or make use of,
Mm-hmm.
that self confidence can suffer. So, that formula for self esteem is a way of helping people who might not feel that confident about going on this journey become confident.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have information about sample letters that a person could write. The power is in the vote. The power is in the vote. If you don't like what your senator or representative is doing, don't vote for them
Right.
or president. And once they get into office, don't let up on the pressure.
Right.
I have something called,
Apropos, huh?
yes, no,
Today.
no, 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 you don't. No, don't let up on the pressure. You know,
Yeah.
just because you're in the eye of the storm doesn't mean that you can forget what your goal is, because these things are ongoing and there are too many distractions that are out there that are designed to keep us from focusing on what we need to focus on. That's one
And
thing.
also, it's a little bit of just accepting what people doctors say to us.
Yes, and we
We're
can no
very
longer do that.
accepting because I
Yeah.
mean that's somebody that you're supposed to be able to trust, you know?
And we could at one time, but not now,
Yeah.
because the stakes have been raised. And Janice, that's why I'm very concerned and surprised that no one is talking about this bottom line. It
Right.
doesn't matter how many companies you have access to. It doesn't matter how many policies you have. It doesn't matter how expensive or inexpensive medication is. If you can't get access to what you thought you were paying for, and now you are in your time of need, okay,
Right.
you're in for a rude awakening. Another reason to read the small print.
Okay. Well, Miss Ada, I really have I've been enlightened, and that's what this show is all about, and finding out where those nooks and crannies are, where racism exists in its subtlest of forms, because it does exist in our healthcare system. I know you mentioned something to me about how they viewed your mother as far as giving her some medicine because that she was just too old for them to give it to her. And I
Yes.
mean, who gave them that authority to make that decision? Because
Mhm.
there have been people that have come through things and come back around because they received proper medication.
Yes, yes.
Well, I'm going to, how can we get the book?
You can go online and you could get it either from me, and I've got my website address on my in the website. I've got my Gmail address. You can
Okay.
get it through Amazon.com. You can
Okay.
get it through Barnes and Noble. You can get it through any bookstore because I also have on my website the ISBN number that you would need in order to order that. And
Okay.
if you order it from me, I can autograph that for you and get that out to you.
So for right now, until I get my website up and running, because it's not. Um, if someone has heard the show and wants to get more information, but the website is that's the 247 lightheartedcaregivers.com.
Yes.
I'll say that again, 247 lightheartedcaregivers.com. And you can also get the book. It's called Patient or Prophet, Where is the Love?
Where's the
Makes
love?
me think about Roberta. Where is the love?
Where is the love? Yes.
That's a question. That was because I saw that "Where's the love." I said, "Is this a subtitle or a part of the title?" But now I understand perfectly how it fits in with the title. Well, I want to thank you for sharing your experience with us. And if anyone contacts me, I would definitely direct them to you. But you said a lot of these form letters and things that people may be presented with when they're trying to seek some resolution to problems that they have, they're in the book.
They're in the book. They are in the book and they're also on the website.
Okay, sounds good. Miss Ada, you have a blessed day and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm going to stay in touch, okay? Take
Okay.
care.
Okay.
All right, that was Miss Adah Kennon. The name of the book is Patient or Prophet, Where is the Love? You know, that's a sad commentary when we pay for something, we think we're paying for something that gives us access, especially medicine or health care, and we're not getting it, and we don't know that because we haven't read the fine print. Uh, but I thought it was very important for us to hear her story. And if anyone needs that kind of information, I have it here once again. Her website is 247lightheartedcaregivers.com. You can get her book on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, and uh, the ISB number is also on her website. So until next time, you just have to wait to guess who's coming to dinner. Until then, take care. Hope you voted. Hope everybody